It was the middle of 1491. He didn't know exactly what date it was. He'd been riding for a number of days now, but paused here when he smelt fire and heard the bickering of two men close by. The knight had left his horse a few steps behind. The fog of the creeping death was up to the mid of his shin, and while his old steed was useful to him for now, he knew without straw or such provisions it couldn't carry him for much longer. These men, off in the distance, some maybe 50 meters into the woodlands, may have something of value. He crept silently. For one so large and heavily armoured, he was not a man who would make a potential enemy aware of his presence until he deemed it necessary. The voices were becoming clearer. Clearly there was some argument ensuing. They would be distracted. He could smell cooking meat as he drew near. It drew him in, tempted his every sense and pulled him forward. He could feel his stomach tie itself in knots, his hunger almost driving him to lose all decorum and charge through the tree lines, separating him from survival. Then he paused. The telltale signs of traps. He had become used to them in service to the king during the War of the Roses a few years prior. He had laid siege to castles and settlements. He had scouted ahead with the king's best saboteurs to find a weakness in defensive positions. He knew the signs of traps well when he saw them. Crouching down, he carefully examined the covered-over bear trap laid on the ground before him. Glancing left and right, he spotted another at a choke point. A careless man would have been caught in its jaws as it rested on the only real route through the trees to the clearing where the men were still bickering. Silently he crept on, his hands on his sword ready to draw at a moment's notice. He raised his shield so as to protect himself from the startled crossbow bolt or arrow that may sail his way in a few steps more. Then he saw the two men he recognized from his time with the king's forces, and breathed a small sigh of relief. Stood tall, stepped over the bear trap with a stride and went into the clearing. "May I sit with you fine men and partake of some of your food? It has been a long ride, and I see you, Master Trapper, have upon your person the heraldry of the king's army. Well met, friend," he said as he walked towards the clearly startled man in front of him. The fire in this encampment had been raised above the creeping death in order that the fog wouldn't snuff it out, by way of setting it on large stones. The first man was of a slight build and clearly a trapper. It was easy to surmise that it must have been him who had so expertly laid the bear traps in the woods. Even to one who had no knowledge of such matters, that much would have been evident, as the second man was currently being held captive in a makeshift cage. Clearly the uncaged man was about to speak in protest when the knight shot him a glance and spoke first. "I know of you two men. I have served with you both in the king's army, though I have reason to believe that you are not acquainted with each other. For I do not believe a man who has fought with another as his brother in war would treat him so." His hand shifted to his sword as he saw the first man's eyes widen, evidently stunned to silence by the knight's imposing presence. "I am sure you both know of me, and I can see you are considering reaching for your crossbow. I can assure you, none would have matched me with a blade before the creeping death, and I doubt that number has risen now. You may move for your crossbow, Sir Trapper, and die, or you may hear my proposition." The man was shaking, his face a picture of recognition and dread. He knew he would stand little chance of getting to his crossbow before the knight cleaved him in half. "Just kill him and have done with it, and let me free," said the man in the cage before the knight's drawing of his sword convinced him to also keep silent. The man then looked from the man by the fire and then to the man in the cage. Letting his eyes meet the cage man's, he asked, "What is the greater number, 1 or 3? "3, of course," replied the man in the cage. "Aye, but which is the more effective number in war? 3 men acting as their own party, no heed of the other, no cohesion or purpose, or 3 men acting as one singular fighting force, their skills the very complement of the other, and their minds of one and singular purpose?" The man by the fire was the next to speak up. "What are you proposing, Sir Knight? This man here was to be my meal. I know it's far from the Lord's way, and the king condemned me for it, but if I free him and don't kill you, what chance do I have in these desperate times?" You, Sir Trapper, I remember that we fought together in a siege. It was you who taught me how to spot the traps that you have so expertly laid, and with which I am certain were the downfall of you, Sir Scout. His gaze now turned to the man in the cage. I have not seen a man with such a skill as you, though, at scaling walls and finding pathways in difficult terrain. I judged that you would find no obstacle to rooting out the resources you most desperately seek, even in a world such as this one. Both men were now actively listening intently. The very fact that they were not both laying dead before the feet of Sir Edmund was enough to persuade them he may be offering a path to greater survival. I propose to you this. I, a master swordsman, you, a master trapper, and you, sir, a scout and pathfinder of some renown, should in fact be partners in the endeavour of survival. Set the scout free, and I shall offer up to our treaty my horse for his life, and we shall go from here to survive far stronger as one. With the mention of the horse they took very little extra persuading, and the three men went to collect her from the nearby tree line. After slaughtering the horse and coming to an accord, Sir Edmund had found his Doom Company. With his scout and his saboteur, there would be a formidable force for their rivals to deny the high ground. Many of the knights in the world of the creeping death had lost their way. Honourless or unable to fulfil their chivalric codes, many of them became brutes. But not Sir Edmund, not for now at least. He clung to high knightly codes and his honour, though a time may come when he would change, and much like the rest of the world, he would become as debased as all others had done in a world of the creeping death. Knights are a playable unit in the tabletop game of 1490 Doom. Adept swordsmen, they are one of the most effective warriors in combat available to your Doom companies. Always carrying a light weapon and shield, they are also defensive, but slower than most, and whether due to their armour's cumbersome qualities or one too many blows to the head, they are far less skillful at opening resource caches or throwing grappling lines than others. Would you include a knight in the party of your Doom company? Let me know in the comments below, and to continue exploring the world of 1490 Doom, click the link to your left to discover the lore and the history of the creeping death. Alternatively, click the video to your right to delve into the lore of Doom companies and their founding. To support the channel, please like, subscribe, share a favourite video with a friend, or become a channel member. For discounts on your hobby supplies, click my affiliate links below, and with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon.